Hello, and welcome to episode 122 of the Rewards Canada podcast. And in this episode, we're going to discuss the newly revamped WestJet Rewards program. And who better to do it with than the VP of Loyalty at WestJet, Steve McLelland. Hey, Steve, welcome to the podcast.
Hey, Patrick. It's good to be here. Thanks for having me on the show.
Oh, you're very welcome. It's our pleasure to have you on for all our listeners and viewers, because this is also a video podcast. Before we get into the details, I know everybody wants to know more and more about the story behind the whole revamp to the program, but can you tell us a little bit about yourself so people have a kind of a background on where you came from?
Sure. Thanks, Patrick. So my name's Steve McLelland. I'm the VP Loyalty here at WestJet. I've been with WestJet for 2.5 years. I started in September 2022. Most of my background in my career has been in loyalty or very close to loyalty. So I started with Canadian Airlines way back in 1999. For those that were alive in 1999 of your listeners and maybe remember Canadian Airlines, but I went to the University of Calgary. I got a co-op job in the Bachelor of Commerce program. That co-op job was at Canadian Airlines. It was a dream job for me, even as a co-op student, to be part of the airline industry. It was always fascinating to me how airlines worked, and I actually started in cargo, and then after that, there was an opportunity in loyalty, and I was lucky enough to get that as a financial analyst in the loyalty program for Canadian Plus. Shortly after that, Air Canada bought Canadian, and I had an opportunity to move to Montreal. So I moved to Montreal as a young guy, young and single, had a wonderful time in Montreal, and was there at the right time, because at that time, Aeroplan was being spun out of Air Canada as a very unique and innovative thing to do in the loyalty industry globally. And I had a great job. My first job was analytics and reward management, which at that point in time was a very new field. But in both of those fields, looking into the data of a loyalty program, which as we know now is like just super important in the early days, and then looking at reward management and optimization, where you're sort of managing the cost of the rewards basis, and looking at that as a kind of a first field into at Aeroplan. That was amazing. So I just was at the right spot at the right time with the right skills, went through that door with Aeroplan, stayed with Aeroplan for 6 years, and that was amazing. And then for the next 5 years, I did two different things. I went into financial services with Scotiabank International Banking in credit cards, which for loyalty programs in Canada, very important to have a good handle of on credit cards. And then I went to be a management consultant with Boston Consulting Group in Toronto. And that was an amazing 3 years of my life, and really, really intense work, but super intense learning as well. And then at that point in time, after a few years, I just, it was sort of my wife and I were going to have a family at that point in time, and I just didn't think I could be a great father, consultant, and just it wasn't the right thing. So I left consulting and went back to Aeroplan. And that was amazing, because at that point in time, we did the TD-CIBC transaction, and I was managing the travel partnerships portfolio after. So all of my career, has been pretty much in loyalty. After that second stint with Aeroplan, we moved back to Calgary, and I ended up with a company here in Calgary called Parkland. And Parkland is in the gas and convenience industry. And you wouldn't think necessarily that loyalty has a huge part to do with that, but it actually it does. And we started a great program called the Journey Rewards program, which is one of Canada's newest loyalty programs, and it has millions of members now. And when I was there, we formed a partnership with CIBC and a partnership with Aeroplan as well. So it's a small world in loyalty in Canada, and I've been lucky enough to be part of it for most of my career.
Yeah, that's awesome. That is such a good background. I mean, you're right in there with the loyalty and the data and everything. You know every little parts of it, and so many things you touch upon are things that longtime Rewards Canada listeners and readers will know about. The transitions from Aeroplan leaving Air Canada, going back to Air Canada. TD, CIBC, Journey Rewards, everything that's been touched upon for so many years. I mean, you and I, it's almost like we led parallel lives, because I mean, we both went to the same school at the same time. We're both in loyalty. I love airlines and all that stuff. It's pretty crazy. So this is awesome. It's really great.
It's funny that we haven't met yet.
Yeah, I know. It was crazy. Yeah, so that's awesome. So we're gonna dive into all the changes, because I mean, I think we have a lot to cover. But as people know now people know where you're coming from, that you have so much background in it, and to why, I think you were probably the one steering this program in the direction where it's going now. Um, Actually, remind me, when did you start working on the changes to the program they're launching here?
Yeah, it's funny you should ask, Patrick. I started working on this project, what you see going live this on the 30th of April. I started working on the first day on the job here in
Wow.
September 2022. Yeah, it
Yes.
was the project itself predates my arrival.
Okay.
So it was actually started even before COVID as a concept, as a loyalty transformation as a concept. COVID got in the way of
Yeah.
executing on that strategy. Lots of things happened with COVID, as we know, and then during COVID, it continued, and then I was lucky enough to get this job in September 2022, and from that point forward, I took leadership over the project, and what you see today is what my team has worked on.
Wow. So lots of time behind this and lots of work. I know you and I've talked behind the scenes. I can't believe how much this entails. Like there's a lot that entails. So of course, the first thing, the biggest change to the program, which I think everybody's going to notice, is goodbye to the dollar, right? WestJet dollars are becoming WestJet points. Just a quick review. I mean, we've covered the video. I'll put a link to the video as well, where we covered all the changes that were announced a little while ago. But we're gonna, get some more, just get insight from Steve on, the choices as to why they did these things. I can give you my opinion, but why don't we get it right from the person who decided, some of these changes? So of course you're going to get, the value stays the same. Every WestJet dollar that people have right now becomes 100 points, and 100 points is worth $1. So the value remains there. And I should quote that $1 is for base fares. There's going to be a lot of different changes. But what was really the driving force what was the driving force for switching to points from dollars?
Yeah, sure. There was a few driving forces. The first one is that, competitively speaking, the existing program for WestJet had not evolved over the course of the 15 years it's been in existence. Not evolved enough in relation to how other programs in Canada have accelerated and become who they are. So Aeroplan has transformed themselves in 2020. They launched a brand new program, huge step forward for them. And Porter's now in the mix, and the Scene program's in the mix, and PC Opto. Like they're very, very. Canada is a hotbed for very
Yeah.
strong loyalty programs. And as we looked at our program, we just felt that our program hadn't evolved to the extent it needed to be competitive. So that's probably number one, is that the program hadn't taken enough steps forward. The second one is that the program didn't have enough features to be attractive to enough segments within the membership base to, let's say, take that step forward competitively. So we knew we had to introduce a whole bunch of new features. And the third one is that points are just they're ubiquitous within the Canadian loyalty
Yeah.
industry, and they're much easier for people to really understand that points are this and dollars are that.
Yeah.
And when I get points, I can redeem it for this and that. And when we introduce new things like redeem for taxes and fees, we need to be able to manage the economics of that redemption. And we can redeem for gift cards, and we can do a whole bunch of other things. And we can give more than a penny per point in value on certain rewards, and we can give less than a penny per point on other rewards. And we can give a penny per point on the core rewards that we have today, so we keep that value the same. So when you put all those three things together, that becomes the necessity to have points as the central driving currency for the program was the right answer. And we also knew that it would get attention. So moving away from a dollars-based currency to a points-based currency is going to get attention. And we said that, this program has to be much, much better, so that that's what our members will see, is that, yes, going to points, but look what I get in return. And we have achieved that. There's every single feature within this program has taken a step forward.
That's awesome. I think a key word, I think, for all of that is flexibility, right? It just gives you that extra flexibility. And I think it's both on the earn and burn side. I mean, when it's dollars, it's hard to earn because you guys weren't issuing cents, right? So there would be kind of that lost. Some people would lose on earn because they may only earn $1 instead of $1.50. And now with points, you will earn the equivalent of
Right.
$1.50. So there is a lot more flexibility with points
You bet.
than dollars there. So I think, and then like you said, I mean, adding partners. I think it's more attractive to partners. It makes it easier to work with partners. I know you guys will probably touch upon this a little bit later in the podcast, but like Skip and Telus and other things. And that word you used with when we met last week, micro redemptions. I love that. So we're going to talk about that as well too. So much going on with that. So people can understand that, the points just adds, potential, a lot more potential value to the program in terms of, partnerships, earning, redeeming, the different options. You'll get a lot more value. I guess there's a lot less rounding. I don't recall. I'd have to look at my WestJet card. I don't know where the rounding's at, if it's at 50 cents or $1, where the percentage where you don't get points and you do, or I guess dollars right now. So that's all going to be alleviated. That's going to be a lot cleaner on the earn, I would say, would be a
Oh,
key.
100%. Like you said, the partnerships is a huge deal. So allowing our members to accumulate and burn points at new partners. So we've announced Telus and Skip, and there's more work on that behind the scenes that I can't share.
Yep.
But there's some really exciting stuff to come on the partnerships front. And I think one thing about airline programs, and the same goes for Aeroplan and the other programs, is that Canadians will always want to travel. They will always want to travel to either a beach vacation, visiting friends and relatives across the country, go to Europe. We have that supply of reward product to give, and our members want to find ways to be able to save their points and reduce the cost or enhance their vacation. So normally one of those two things. They either can take the same vacation sooner because they can accumulate points, redeem those points for a vacation that they would have otherwise had to have saved longer for, or they can use those points to make their vacation better. So
that's right.
In our case, we didn't currently you can only redeem for base fare.
Yeah.
Well, in the new program, you can redeem for upgrades or seat selection, or if you need to take an extra bag that you have to pay for, you can redeem for that. So basically, giving the tools to the members to optimize how they want to go on vacation or use their points, and that's just a natural evolution of the program.
That's awesome. Again, so much flexibility, right? That's we're going back to that flexibility. You have so many ways to use the points, and the fact that it is not. You don't have set reward charts. Now, I know a lot of programs have gone away from reward charts, but you just have that option. Whatever amount of points, as long as you have the 2,500 points, $25 worth, you can redeem towards your flight. So it's very, very simple, very easy with the program. So we'll go to the next thing with the points, which a lot of people brought up, is that their concern is that it makes it easier for future program devaluations. Because when $1 is $1, it's equal to $1. My argument to a lot of people as well, even with that being the case, you can always devalue on the earn side. I mean, now I guess it gives you a little flexibility in adjusting points, whether it's on the earn side or redemption side. I try to alleviate people's concerns is that, WestJet's not going to devalue, at least not in the next, I would say, 3 to 5 years. I mean, it's inevitable with every program. There's always going to be adjustments, whether it's enhancements or devaluations. And by enhancements, I mean actual enhancements. I mean, we know enhancement in loyalty industry is ubiquitous with not being an enhancement, but yeah. So I mean, maybe you can maybe expand upon that a little bit.
Sure. Well, there's a lot to cover there. So I think the first thing is that for an airline and for really any company, let's say even Parkland, when I worked at Parkland, when you do the research on what do members care about, after things like where do we fly, schedule, price, and in some cases people care more about loyalty than price, but let's say schedule, your plane type, like certain factors that are just core to the airline's activity itself. In the Parkland, it was where is my gas station located and what's the price of fuel. And then after that, and even in some cases, price and loyalty are switched up in some segments. But loyalty is a really core driver of where people choose to buy their goods from. Yep. In certain industries, it's more important than others. And in the airline industry, for some segments, loyalty program strength is a very, very, like one of the probably top 2, top 3 decision factors on who they're going to choose to fly. Yeah. So as you get back to sort of connecting the dots between the loyalty program strength and the value of the point or the value of the currency, well, the first objective for me as a leader of the loyalty program is to make sure that this program supports the airline. And so it would be a really dumb idea for us to just simply look at this as an opportunity to devalue, because then I remove a lot of the attractiveness for our members to the airline. So I actually think of it as the opposite. I'll sort of pair this up between the competitiveness of the program. So making sure the program gets more valuable to members over time. So better features, better redemption options, better tier program, you name it, everything needs to continue taking a step forward. This is a very competitive industry. So that's one side. The other side is that as a program operator, I have to manage the economics of the program.
That's right.
So look at everything. One of the beauties of loyalty is that there's just so much data. You can track it down to the member. Member profitability is something that we track and we look at and we build models around. And we look at air reward profitability. We look at everything in a certain way. And you have to look at the overall program as a mini economy and look at how that economy is functioning. And you do have to manage the puts and takes within that. So my goal is as the leader of the WestJet loyalty program is that if you and I are having a call every single year at this time, is that I can definitively say that this program has gotten better. Yeah. And I hope that we can do that.
Oh, that's great. That's a great explanation on it. And I love you're mentioning the economics. I think we'll touch upon that too when we get more to the elite section. You and I had a good discussion about the companion vouchers, and that's a very interesting, you opened my eyes a bit more on that, in terms of how generous you guys were with the companion vouchers in the old program. So, all right, but I'm going off there. So let's get back into points. So the next thing so guys have moved to points. So now you can earn points pretty much on almost your entire airfare. That's a move as of April 30th. So right now you only earn dollars, which are points basically. We're going to use those interchangeably on base fare. But as of April 30th, all your surcharges, other ATC, extras, seats, bags, upgrades, and you mentioned upgrades earlier, you're going to be able to earn points on those, correct?
You bet. So there's a few more changes in there, or a couple noteworthy changes. So our teal members today earn the equivalent of 0.5%, or if you convert that into points, it's 0.5 point. And that's not very rich. Admittedly, that is something that is below where it should be. We increased that to a 1 penny or a point per dollar spent on all of those things. So when you buy a base fare, and then if you buy seats, and if you buy an upgrade or whatever you buy, as a teal member, you'll earn 1 point per dollar, and that can add up, especially on routes like London Heathrow, where a lot of the fares, is
that's right.
Base fare low, but the fuel surcharge is very high. So now there's no trickery in there. If you buy that, everything except for the government fees is now earning points, and that can add up pretty quickly. So we've doubled the earn rate, and we added more features to earn. So it'll be more than double for teal members.
That's huge, actually. Considering it's double, it's 100% increase and extras. Like that's really big.
In the industry, so.
And I'm glad you brought that up. That was going to be my next. We're going to touch upon that. But it's perfect you brought it up now, because I think there was not. I read a lot of different articles when news comes out like this, and there wasn't much discussion about that earn rate being doubled for teals. I even look at my article. It's literally I have one paragraph here on it, and it's like, now that I think about it, that is really big. Whether you fly WestJet once a year or 50 times per year, and until you get to the next status level, that is a significant increase in earning.
Yeah, it's an increase in velocity. Mathematically, it will be more than double, because it's not only the base fare, but now it's applying to other things. I'm not surprised it didn't get a lot of news. I think in a couple of factors is that it's kind of hard, when you go from percentages to points, then you have to do an interim calculation. You got to figure out, okay, what does this really mean? And we knew that, but we knew that the right thing to do for the teal membership, which is the vast majority of all the members in our program are teal, and they have the vast majority of all of the activity and the and the flights taken are by teal members, and we thought that they deserved more earning velocity. We're not giving enough points away to those members that represent a very competitive segment for us, and we want them to see points going into their account, and then we want them to be able to redeem for a flight or a portion of a flight down the road, because loyalty programs, it's so important to get engagement, and it was going to take too long for members to earn enough dollars in the former program, and if we didn't increase, it was going to take too long for them to earn points to be able to get something that they value. So we knew it was the right thing to do, and we're happy that we were able to do it.
Well, thank you on behalf of all the Teal members. I mean, that's
Yeah,
exciting for them. That's really good. I mean, it's like I said. I think they'll be, it'd be nice. If a family takes a vacation this year, because you guys bought Sunwing Vacations. There's a lot of different. You guys are such a huge leisure airline. Family takes a vacation this year and next year, and after that point, they'll have enough points to have a discount towards a third vacation, those type of things. So rather than holding on for 4 or 5 years before they actually get to something meaningful. So.
totally. Well, we had this chart internally where, like, way back in the beginning of the design phase, we had a lot of different ways we looked at it. We looked at it from even from like, what's the purpose? Like, what role does this program play in someone's life, or what role does it play for the airline? So we had a very principles based design phase where we looked at all that sort of thing, and then we looked at it from segment based. So if you even to very simply, let's go the teal infrequent flyer. So most Canadians do not take more than one round trip per year. Let's say
Yeah.
most Canadians, right?
Most, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, most Canadians do not. That's either 0 or 1 trip per year, and that's kind of the typical way, because it's not yeah, it's not flying every week or being a road. That's very rare.
Yep.
Whereas then you'd have, let's say, the flyer who flies, let's say, once every 2 months, and they're likely to fall into the silver category or be very close to the silver tier. And then you go all the way up to the road warrior who's on the road every week.
Yep.
And what we had, like, whiteboard sessions where we said, what is this program doing for each of those core segments? Like, what can we point to that is attractive to each one of those segments, knowing that we are competing in each one of those. So for the teal, let's say for the everyday teal member, increasing the teal earn rate is important, but it's not going to be a huge impact because they're not flying that much.
Yeah.
What's really important to those members is the flexibility to use their points in a way that is there when they are able to use them. So to get to 2,500 points, and through, let's say, some partnerships that we may have, that we have and may have coming, that's a way for them to earn points. And then 2,500 points is a very low threshold where you can just redeem $25 off your fare.
Yeah. And you've combined that, and you've changed that to just a reservation, not per person, like in the old programs. So that makes it easier.
That's another one where it's subtle. That's a subtle change, but I think we were very happy about that one subtle change, because it makes it removes complexity. So complexity in loyalty programs is a killer, and it's really hard to actually maintain a simple program. But in this case, going to 2,500 points per redemption lowers the typical redemption threshold. We used to have $30 return per passenger. So a family of 4 would have $120. Going to 2,500 reduces that threshold, and it's just on the reservation. So it's hard for even, how do you explain, well, it's $30 per person, and then need to do the math. Like, let's just try to remove as much complexity as possible. And that's kind of that we looked at everything.
That's great. I mean, this is like a full, like, top to bottom revamp. Yeah. So I guess we'll stay on the earn side. So now all spend except for taxes will count for tier qualifying for your elite status. Which, I mean, now it makes sense as to how you bumped up platinum, the requirement, because platinums are frequent flyers. They might not even notice that difference, because they're going to be earning that much more tier qualifying spend.
That's true. Well, we knew that we had to go through. I remember, November was a tough time, because we knew we had to announce several changes that would be less than popular. In a lot of cases. So in some cases, people are going to like, hey, I like what you've done with Zone 1. So for Platinums, Zone 1 is a good thing. Whereas for Golds, who used to have Zone 1, that's not so good, because now they're in Zone 2. But we knew we had a boarding problem.
You guys cleared up Zone 2 as well. So you guys cleared Zone 2 as well. Yeah.
Right. It's that one part where, hey, we moved the 72 people out of Zone 2, or potentially 72 people out of Zone 2, is a hard one to put in a member email. Members not necessarily concerned or have the time or patience to be able to read a more operationally styled communication. But we knew we had an overall boarding issue, in the sense that when you called Zone 1, half the airplane would stand up in some cases. That's not very good for the operation. It's not very good for the member. So we had that. We also knew that we actually we had a number of dinners and focus groups over the past several years. Since I started, we said, hey, well, let's talk to members. Let's ask them specifically, what do you want in a new program?
Yeah.
And in many conversations, it was, well, if I fly to London, you collect the fuel surcharge, but that doesn't go to my qualifying. So I'm spending
That's
$700
right.
or $800 one way on a flight, of which $100 is base fare. Or, I mean, that's really pretty extreme, but let's call it half and half. So 400 and 400. Well, 400 of that shouldn't be qualifying. And there's a lot of like, well, this should work that way and this should work that
Yeah.
way. And things like nearing in, let's say in December, when I'm closing in on my tier qualification and I'm $1,000 short, and I plunk down $500 for an upgrade. Well, that should count towards
Yeah.
tier qualifying. And I completely agree. So we just said, hey, like, what are all the things that we think should qualify? And all of those things were like, yeah, all of that should qualify. And it should mimic where points are issued. So if you issue points on base fare plus fuel surcharge plus seats, like you should also get qualifying spend on that, just to make it as simple as possible.
Awesome. Yeah, in case anybody's new to us listening or viewing, I'll link as well to another video where we discussed the elite status changes that were announced last November. We have a video conversation there as well, a podcast, so I'll link to that. And then still on earning, so the credit card stays the same. Again, like those just change from 1.5%, 2% to 1.5 points and 2 points per dollar. So I don't think we really need to cover that. I guess, well, speaking of credit cards, you guys are launching a business credit card, a small business credit card. Any updates on that since we put up our posts?
Where it'll be RBC small business WestJet card, and we're currently just piloting with a few, like I said, say a small group of cardholders to make sure we can iron out all the kinks in the program. To like, small business cards are pretty complex because you got a one-to-many relationship, and so we wanted to make sure that we got all the kinks ironed out. So that will launch sometime later this year, like in more in the mass channel. So it's a very exciting card. It's going to be, I'll say one thing that I think is very attractive is a lot of our World Elite card holders who are small business owners will probably want to hold both cards, and both card spending will contribute to tier qualifying spend.
So you can get there a lot faster. Yep.
Exactly. So, if you're, now that you can reach platinum on card spend alone without taking a flight, also a very unique feature for the credit cards itself and unique in Canada, is that you can say as a small business owner, well, if I spend on this card and I spend on that card, they're working towards the same thing.
That's right.
So that card holder can reach platinum via either one of those cards. So I think that's really cool, and being able to manage your expenses, and I think it's a natural progression of our card portfolio, and I think that's it's really great. So very excited for that card.
Cool, that's exciting. Can't wait till that one comes out as well. Okay, so we've kind of covered all the earn side of points. So now the points also help on the redemption side. And I think the big thing, which you've already touched upon, which I think most people should be excited about, is that you can use the points to pay not just base fares now, but you can pay for your taxes, fees, 100% of your fare. You can pay for companion voucher copay. You can pay for the taxes and fees. Basically anything, almost anything you can think of, you can use those points on. So if you want to dive into that a little bit for us.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is something that we are very happy that we've been able to put in the new program, is that the joy of redeeming your points is too often offset by the frustration of having to pull out your wallet and pay for all of these fees that we have in Canada for our aviation fees. And so when we designed the program, and there are other programs do this already, so this is not something that we're innovating on, but it is it's something that makes a lot of sense, is that if you want to have that truly free flight, you should be able to redeem your points for everything that you can possibly buy as part of it, so that you are not having to fork over a penny when you want to take your family on vacation, or if you just go on a flight. So that I think it's just that it's sure, it's more points because you have to fork over more points to be able to redeem for the taxes and fees. But I think that when we talk to our members, that they're willing to do that, and it's because that I want to actually get a free flight, and
That's right.
Like, you don't have to pay anything. It's
Yeah,
beautiful.
yeah. Well,
Yeah.
like you said, I think you explained to us when we talked before that. So you'll have two options, right? For the extras on your fare, you can either redeem 50% with points and 50% cash, or you can go 100% all in. And the redemption rates are roughly, I think this is just an approximate, right? 110 points for $1 when you go the 50% route, and 105 points for every $1 when you do the 100% route. So it's a little, so the value is a little bit less than your base fare, but it's still, I mean, that's not a big difference. And I think and you said people do want their flights for free. Their majority of Canadians are not. They're not like us in the points and miles community where we're trying to push maximum value out of every single dollar we've spent or every single point we've earned. They want to know it's like, hey, you know what? My $900 flight to London cost me $0.
Zero.
That's all.
Yeah.
That's all.
That,
That's all that matters. It doesn't matter if it costs them, 10,000 points. I'm just throwing out random hypothetical numbers here, but they don't really care how many points it costs them. But knowing that they did not have to actually spend a single dime is huge to them.
I think it matters that the point value for tax and fees is reasonable. It's
Yeah.
within a reasonable tolerance level of the main reward,
Yeah.
which is a penny, and 105 points per dollar, 110 points per dollar, pretty small difference.
Yeah. That's
So I
minor.
think
Yeah.
that's fine. Yeah. So that option's good, and a lot of, let's say, it's kind of getting back to like the different segments. So let's say a lower velocity segment or lower velocity of earn segment might never really redeem for, or they may never redeem for tax and fees because they are redeeming for partial fare.
Yeah.
That's
They're
like,
only,
so they're kind of at the 2,500, and that's great. That's great for us, and it
yeah.
helps them.
And they
Whereas
don't
the
see a
high,
loss of value. They don't see a loss of
yeah,
value at
for
all.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. But whereas the high spending cardholder who has a lot of velocity gets to the final part of the redemption today, and then they have to fork over. Well, they have all the points that they've
Yeah.
earned, and they can do that. So it has both. It can work for both sides,
Yeah.
and that's I think that's really exciting.
Well, there's that famous saying I have. I don't know if it's famous, but it's something I've written in my articles for probably 24 years or so, is that there are those people who have more points than they know what to do with, right? So if you have that many points, you might as well save the cash. You don't need to be chasing value. It's, there are people, and you see this in your credit card holders, there are people putting 30, 50, $60,000 on their card every month, not just yearly, but every month. So these people have more, points coming out
Yeah,
basically,
there
So
are there are probably more folks out there than uh, than people expect that
yeah,
spend that much on their credit card,
yeah,
and it's great for them.
yeah,
Happy for them, and even they when they look at what they're going to redeem for, sometimes they're going to redeem for all flights, and then maybe
yeah,
sometimes they're going to redeem for something in the eStore because
yeah.
they
You're gonna
want
have your
to.
eStore, yeah,
And they use this as an asset class. Like points for in Canada are very valuable, and they think they're like part of your personal budgeting. And I
they
think
should
you
be
even
part. Yeah, yeah, they
yeah.
should be part of
So
your financial tool. Maybe not planning, but part of your financial tool. I mean, speaking of eStore, I mean, I'll use an example. I mean, it's your competitors, but I had one of our readers who was so excited that they were able to redeem Aeroplan points for an iPad.
yep,
And I was excited for them. Whatever you can redeem your points for. Maybe you'll never have the right flights come up, or you'll never have the right option. With a loyalty program, putting out those additional options where you can get value from your points, whether it's for extra taxes or fees, or like you guys are going the eStore route as well, where you'll be able to redeem points for gift cards, merchandise, things like that. That just provides more value to a wider variety of your membership base.
I agree. Well, that's a great example. That iPad, that person that redeemed their points for an iPad may not have otherwise bought an iPad if they didn't have it
Yeah,
bought on points, because they weren't willing to part with dollars, but they were willing to part with points because it's a treat, and it's like I got these points and I can treat myself
yeah,
with something, and why should we decide what they want to redeem it for?
exactly. And again, it comes down to that value. Obviously, because we know, again, in the loyalty industry, most cases, merchandise is less value per point, but it comes down to the individual, and it's always just whatever makes you happy, what you use your points on. If you're happy with that redemption, perfect. It's the best redemption in the world.
Well,
So
a lot of members will, let's say, a lot of members may save up their points and use it for a flight. They might have a few points left over. They might redeem for some gas gift cards, because the price of fuel is super high. Like, you know, it's people have this is part of the financial toolkit that people can use to manage their personal finances. And if they decide that they're not going to redeem for flights, instead they can use their points for gas because I need to save right now.
Yeah.
That's great, and we're happy that they can do that.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. I'm excited to see what else. What like I said, we're going to talk about these micro redemptions coming up.
There's only
So
a
what else?
start.
Yeah,
There's
what
only a
else do we have here? So I guess I quickly mentioned that you can use your points as well for the copay on your companion vouchers. So if you have the companion vouchers from the WestJet cards, $119 and up, you can actually use your points to pay for that as well. Correct?
100%. Yeah, you can use your points to pay for, let's say, change fees if you happen to
Oh, even
change your
change fees. Okay.
change fees. Yeah, so you can do all of that. It's very flexible, very flexible, and I think the combined power of the companion pass and the credit card. So this is the scenario that we work through is, say the regular card holder spends let's say during the year, and then they want to take a companion a flight with a companion pass to Mexico, for example. So they save up all their points and they redeem for the copay, and they say they pay for the part of the first fare and part of the second fare, or all of it. They've got 2 flights for free, combining the power of the companion pass with the points accumulation and flexible redemption. That's what we want to see. That's exactly success in our view.
Yeah. So that's great. And I think the last thing on the earn side, and we don't have to go into huge detail on this unless you want to, is, well, I guess it is big for a lot of people because you've already touched upon this, is the status lift on the credit cards. So
Yes.
earning, you guys have changed that. So it used to be, what was it before? It was $500 for every 15,000, but now it's 200 for every 5. So if people want quick math, you're now going to be basically earning $600 at tier qualifying for 15 is spending, but you're going to earn it faster.
Yeah, you bet. So this is the let's say the highly flexible redemption, the minimum redemption 2,500 is probably for the more everyday member, whereas status lift is probably for the, let's say, the more affluent household, typically speaking, who can spend a lot on their credit card. And the real magic of this, I think, is it's really cool that you can reach tier status without flying, and it'd be 100,000 for silver, 150,000 for gold, and 250,000 for platinum, just to run the quick math. Most people don't spend $100,000 on their credit card. I certainly don't, but there are some out there that do that.
Yeah.
And that's awesome that they can do that. Whereas the magic of this revamped status lift program is not only in that sort of get tier, but it's also the combinability of these two things. So if you get a credit card and you spend on a couple of flights, let's say 2,000, and you spend 50,000 on the card, which there are a lot more people that spend 50,000 than 100,000, they can then get silver status. And so it's the combining those two things together that a lot of households will be able to do, and then therefore get recognized with the WestJet program, and then really save on flights, and I actually have a really good experience as a silver member.
That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, and like you said, like we've already touched upon, is that you now earning TQS on more of
Yes.
your fares, anyways, too, right? So just a lot faster ways to achieve status with those.
There has been a lot more. I think there's been a lot more energy put into the program, a lot more velocity, and a lot more
Yeah.
ways to earn, and just a lot more. I think of it like a lot more energy injected into this program.
Yeah. All right, so that brings us now kind of to the elite status part. So the new Milestone Award choices were finally revealed. We didn't know those back in November when we did the first video. And you did bring back Gift of Gold, which is in a better form. But I think the big thing, of course, in November, the big thing that people were disappointed were the tier levels, right? Or for reaching the Milestone Awards, the spend levels, because before it used to be pretty much like every $2,000. But you gave me a great explanation that people were getting a companion voucher every $2,000, and you earlier in the podcast, perfect terminology used is member profitability, and that each of those vouchers could be redeemed for way more than the money you were making off them. It just wasn't financially viable for you guys as WestJet to be giving out vouchers that would cost, that somebody could redeem on a $2,000 airfare, but also that also takes away from that seat that you guys could have sold for however much. Here we, this is what I love too. We talked about this with our Air Miles podcast in our last podcast, is some of the economics and things that people don't realize go beyond or behind the scenes in the programs. So you guys have the new Milestone Awards. Do is there anything you want to specifically look at with the Milestone Awards that you feel people really should know about? Like what makes these choices so great?
Well, I think that I say probably one thing is that it's not that we don't want to give people companion passes for
Yeah,
sure. The companion pass program we have both on credit card and the Milestone companion pass. They're incredible. They're unrestricted availability. You can book them. So there's no advanced purchase. There's network wide. You can book them in economy or premium, and they're very valuable. If you use them
yeah.
right, they can be very valuable. So
Oh
when we
yeah,
looked
yeah,
at all the thing is when you look at let's say you get in the previous program, you get your first one at 4, and then you gave one at every $2,000 from there, as you said. And each one of those ones, if you optimize your value as a member, can be worth up to $2,000 or more if you redeem them for premium to Japan, for example.
yeah,
And people did optimize. Like you can see it in the data. Members optimize, and they're smart. And so it's not that we don't want to give
yeah.
companion. They're very good. It was just we were giving away too many, and you can't give. If you collect $2,000 in revenue, you can't give something away that's worth $2,000. It's just not a way to run a loyalty program. It's directing too much value for that amount of spend. So we had to look at that very tough look at the profitability of the overall tier program and how much value we were giving back in the milestone the previous milestone program. We still wanted to have a milestone program because it is a way to keep members excited about what's next, because we don't have a fourth tier and we want people to continue flying with us. And so we put in some really interesting things that are valuable that can be used. So every single time you cross through one of those thresholds, if you don't want to use a companion pass and you just don't think you can use it, you can get points.
Yeah.
So you can just redeem it for points. And then, with the companion pass, which, in the overall noise of the tier program changes we made in November, the main story about the milestone was that you're taking a lot of them away. Whereas what we added back was that you can now combine those companion passes together on one reservation.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
So you can take 2 and combine them for a family of 4, and you get 2. There's still unrestricted availability. There's still all the other good stuff. And then we extended the expiration date up to 2 years. So now a tier member can go and get one companion pass 1 year, get another companion pass the next year, and then combine those 2 things together and take a really special vacation. So I think we've done some nice things there. And even though, some people will be upset that we took a lot of it away.
Well, it's tough. I mean, I've talked to people. I think even Saul mentioned, when we had our podcast with him in what was it, late November, early December, talking about your elite status. I think he's one where I think he was earning more companion passes than he knew what to do with.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
I'm not going to quote him. I believe it might have been him. It might have been somebody else I talked to. But yeah, some people were earning more passes than they could use. So in some ways, I think it's just, I think it's cleaning up the program. But now your gift of gold used to be just for one flight, and now when you can give it away at the 12,000 and 30,000 levels, that's for a whole year. So somebody gets status for a whole year, correct? Yeah. And that's not based on a calendar year, or it's based on when it's assigned, right? Your guys' elite status is from the day, is it, or how does that work?
I think it's from 1 year. I'd have to confirm with you, but it's from the time that you redeem for 1 year.
Okay. And then I guess this one is the exciting one. Is there one person at the 50K level can get your WestJet suite for them and up to 17 guests? Is anybody close yet? Because I know you're going, you're giving credit back, from the start of this year. Is anybody getting close yet?
I'd have to check. I'd have to check. I can message someone right now to see.
Okay, maybe we'll come back to that. Yeah.
Yeah. Is anyone close to the 50K spend? We'll get an answer while we're still talking.
Okay, that's awesome. Because that would be, I'm curious, because like I said, and if they accept it, right? Because what you do, you're going to message them saying you're the first to hit 50K. If you want this, it's yours. If not, it goes to the next person, right? So maybe that's something we may need to keep a running thing on our website to let people know. It's like, okay, WestJet let us know that they reached out to the first person. They don't want the suite. It's still up for grabs. Yeah, it's a good competition for those top flyers, right? Those top flyers, top spenders. So
yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Okay, so that's good about the Milestone Awards. Okay, let's go into, I guess, non-flight stuff. So you have the WestJet eStore launching.
Mhm.
So same thing, you're going to be able to earn points. For those who are familiar, it's very similar to Air Miles shops, Aeroplan eStore, Rakuten, you name it. It's going to be an
Yeah,
online shopping portal, but now you can earn WestJet points. What do we have here? 1 to 5 points per dollar, but you also give redemptions, correct?
you got it. So yeah, so it's very similar to the other programs you mentioned, where you can earn for shopping with your typical brands, and it's just for the highly engaged member who wants to save, and they don't have to do much differently other than shop like they used to shop, and
Yeah.
just go to click a widget and start getting some points, which we think is great. And then there is a redemption option, so we have that launching on April 30th as well. So we have a really great assortment of goods that people can redeem for, and that's something that we're excited about, giving our members just more opportunities to earn and burn.
So I'm curious. I know it says gift cards. You need to use the full points for full redemption. Do you know what level those are going to start at? Are you going to have like, is it going to be $25 the same 2,500 points, or do you have any
I
insight
think
into
it'll be
that?
50. I think we'll start
50?
at 50 and see
Okay.
how it evolves, and
Yeah.
if it makes sense. The challenge with $25 gift cards, and we're going to start with physical gift cards to start, and then maybe we'll move to digital after. But um, the challenge with $25 gift cards is that there's shipping and processing fees, and
No,
so
that's right. Yeah.
you end up looking at the value per point, or the point value. It looks really bad when you go to the
Yeah.
25, and that's not because we're taking more margins, just a more transaction cost.
Okay.
So
Makes
the
sense.
higher
Yeah.
denominations is just slightly better, and we'll start there, and then we'll see how it goes.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, hopefully you guys bring it. I mean, e-vouchers are easy, right? So if you guys get
Yeah,
into the e-gift card e-vouchers, that'll make it, I would foresee you guys go lower in terms of gift card levels when it becomes e-vouchers. And then of course, then you have Skip and Telus. There weren't a lot of details, but I know it's earning and redeeming. And this is what you and I were talking about, these micro redemptions, these partners where you probably, I'm assuming you won't have to use a lot of points to be able to, use them with people like Skip or Telus.
yeah. We're going to start with the standard 2,500 point redemption for both depending on what the application is. But let's say, and we haven't released all the details for member value propositions for both of those partners, but it'll be a linked program. Link your account and get X and Y. Linked loyalty is really the way to go in the modern day, because everything's in the cloud. It's all API driven,
Yeah.
so it's much easier to do this versus sort of POS type work, the
Yeah.
old style. But link your account, and then being able to redeem your WestJet points for skip the dishes if you want to treat yourself, whatever. Like,
Yeah.
you know, keeping the minimum redemption low at 2,500 is important to us, because it just gives a lot more people a lot more opportunity, a lot more utility, really. The currency is valuable because it can be used in a lot more places, and having that low redemption allows more people to redeem more often. So that's how we keep. And if we in the future, maybe we go lower than 2,500.
Awesome. I guess I just see how it works for you guys. See the uptake and everything. I mean, that's again, it comes down to that whole flexibility. You're just giving more potential value to a wider variety of your membership base. Previously WestJet dollars were limited to flights and vacations. That's it. Nothing else, right? So then I guess the one thing I have my note here, you recall this from my post, is we really need to get some good hotel partners on board. I don't know what or if you guys
We
have.
would love to.
Yeah.
Yeah, we would
Yeah,
love to.
yeah,
So yeah, hotel's a category. This the typical categories, you could probably guess them all, but hotel and car and grocery and pharma and other retail, like, there's a lot of opportunity out there. And this going to a new program, also a new technical backbone, that we replaced the entire technical stack here that supports the loyalty program, which is incredibly complex, but just all of that is done in the name of allowing the program to expand and to be more applicable and more valuable for our members. So all that stuff goes together, and partnerships are a great way to expand the reach of the program.
awesome, awesome. So I think we've really covered everything. I do have one last question before we close out the podcast. We're recording this about a week before the launch, so I know you're going to get even
Okay.
more feedback once it launches. But what has your feedback been so far? What have you heard from members, the general public, since you first announced these, not the elite changes in November, but the changes to the general program?
Yeah, generally all positive. You've seen this. You've seen the stories. Like it's mostly um, the attractiveness of being able to earn and burn for more stuff, and for card holders, it's a lot of this card just got a lot better because I can do more stuff with my points. So a lot of that, and a lot of excitement for all the new features that we're going to bring out, the new partners and stuff. So it's been very positive, and we are let's see, April 24th today. We are 4 days away from maintenance pages going up at the evening of the 28th, and if all goes well, the morning of April 30th, we should be up and running.
We'll be up and live. That's exciting. So I'm going to put this podcast up on the 30th, so people will see that there's things behind. I guess there's a lot behind the scenes. You were saying you have like a huge checklist of things that you guys have to go over in the next few days. I don't envy you for the next few days.
Well, so this is maybe something humorous, but my role at this point is pretty. I'm not that important right now. My team, the technical team. So the two people I have, Jonathan and Chandler, who are incredible. The two sort of primary leads of the entire program. And then we have a very large deployment team, and we have been rehearsing this thing for quite a long time. It's a very detailed run book, step by step, hundreds of lines. This step happens at this timestamp. And if, these are the dependent steps that happen. If this one doesn't go well, here's what needs to get fixed. And so we have built an entire top to bottom launch plan, scenario plan, tested the what out of this thing. Yeah. And we are as prepared as we can possibly be. It's just so this is such a huge launch. It's so highly integrated within the system. And so we need to be super prepared so that we don't disrupt the airline. We can't, this thing has to go down and go up, and our members need to start getting back into the system. And I should say, while we're on the line here, is that our members will still be able to use their tier status, get into the lounge and all that sort of stuff. So we made sure that all of the travel benefits and the recognition of our member statuses as they travel, that's all intact. Really all that's sort of taken down is the earn and burn features, and all the new features will be replacing the old features. As of April 30th, all that stuff will come back online.
So hopefully, this, like I said, this is going live April 30th. So hopefully that has gone smoothly by that time. So. But I love this. Again, we said that with my last guest too. I love this because you give a good insight, because, the general Canadian consumer, the people, the listeners, the viewers, even a lot of the people who are very in-depth in the Points Miles community, they still don't see what goes on behind the scenes. And you're giving us a glimpse of what transpires. It's not just like a flick of a switch. There's a lot of work to this. So
we want it to look like a flick of a switch.
Yeah,
if we do our jobs well, if we do our jobs well, it is seamless to the member.
Yeah.
Behind the scenes, there's hundreds of people that have worked on this project. There's several hundred people who will be on the cutover plan calls, the triaging calls, and this is across multiple different partners that we have. LGI is our new loyalty platform that we've had, and we work with several other partners extensively, to the point where people don't even ask where you work. It's just you recognize their voices. It doesn't even matter where they work. It's just, hey, it's Jerry. Jerry is works for somebody, but Jerry's part of the team. We all just recognize their voice. It's been an incredible journey for me as a leader. This is the biggest and most complex thing I've ever worked on in my career, and I'm incredibly proud to have been part of it.
Well, that's awesome. We're excited for you guys. We're excited for you. Excited for WestJet. It's been such a pleasure having you on here. We'll have to have you on again. Maybe we'll do this later this year after the program's been out for a bit, and we can see where you guys are going. You'll probably have new partners. We can talk about things like that. So thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
Thank you, Patrick, for having me on, and thanks to your listeners and viewers for taking the time to watch this and listen to it.
And that's all she wrote for this episode. If you like this video, be sure to hit the like button. Subscribe to her channel if you don't do so yet. If you think others will benefit from the content that we put out here, hit that share button and share with friends, family, coworkers, you name it, and leave us a comment. We do love everybody's feedback on our podcast videos. Thank you for tuning in. Have yourselves a great day, and I'll talk to you next time.